All right, another podcast. We are back, episode 7 of the Chroncast. My name is Ryan. I am the host and one of the lead guys at Canucks Chronicles. I am joined by Alex, my other lead guy at Canucks Chronicles. Whatever you want to call his job description, that's up to you. And Zach Mason, our producer and resident guy who makes us look like we know about hockey. So let's just get right into it here. Canucks' most recent game was a 4-3 overtime loss to the Arizona Coyotes. Soon to be Salt Lake City Storm and Mormons, hopefully. Alex, any thoughts on the game?
That was... Words are hard to come by for a game like that. It was just so sloppy for a major point to the game, and then they gave you this little bit of hope that they were going to come back in the third. That overtime penalty shot from Philip Hronek was the point where you just thought, oh my god, they're actually going to complete the comeback, and then we just can't get it done. It's frustrating at the best of times, but seeing this coming into the playoffs is a little concerning from the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, their play most recently has definitely not been up to standards. Not being able to beat teams like the Kings. That night's win was nice, but not being able to beat teams like the Kings, and even when we are winning games, them being this close to the playoffs, it's really concerning. Especially with, obviously the next game, which is a marquee matchup against the Oilers, that will probably decide who wins the Pacific Division.
Yeah.
Because, we're currently ahead of them by, I think, 4 points, but they have 2 games in hand. So winning those 2 games in hand would put us about level with them. And their schedule going into the end of the season is not a hard one, particularly. So definitely worrying to see how they're playing like this.
Yeah, and I mean, early in the season, we were thrashing the Oilers left, right, and center, but that's really a different Oilers team to what we have right now. Ever since the firing of Jay Woodcroft and Chris Knobloch coming in to coach, this has been one of the best teams in the NHL. So we really need to make sure we show up Saturday night. I think there were some bright spots last game, I think. Guys like Elias Lindholm had possibly his best game as a Canuck so far. Connor Garland still looked good. Quinn Hughes really kicked it into gear when he needed to. Elias, the friendly ghost, actually showed up and scored a goal finally. But, we need everything to go right in Edmonton on Saturday night. This game, we cannot afford to lose.
And I think the thing that we need the most out of that game is a good performance from Elias Pettersson. Because I think what I've started to notice as this, sort of dry spell for him continues, and obviously he did score a very important goal against Arizona, but as this lack of performance, lack of results continues for him and the team, I'm starting to realize more and more why he's so important to the team. Because even during this, this stretch where it doesn't feel like the Canucks are playing their best hockey, they're nowhere near what they were at a different point in the season. You have good performances from JT Miller, good performances from Brock Besser, Quinn Hughes, Connor Garland. Casey DeSmith was never like a standout bad goalie. He was getting hung out to dry a lot of times. But I think that the most important thing for the Canucks' success is Elias Pettersson's success. And I think that the whole team performance kind of revolves around that. So going into Saturday, I'm really hoping he can kick back into gear and get something going.
Yeah, because when Pettersson is at his best that he can be a total game breaker for the Canucks. He can be possibly the best player on the ice at any given moment where he's out there. But these last couple weeks, even last couple months, it has not been there. He's just... I don't know what's off. I'm wondering if he could be perhaps playing through an injury or if there's something on the mental side going on right now, but we need him to get into gear when playoffs come around. I still have some hope that he can. I remember in the bubble he was one of our best performers, but this is going to be a very different playoff environment to the bubble with fans actually in the building. So if Elias Pettersson can't get into gear soon, this could be an issue.
Yeah, and I think getting him into gear involves just what am I saying? Getting him into gear is obvious. It's obviously crucial, but I think that a lot of it comes from getting him the puck and encouraging him to shoot, because watching him last game, it looked like his confidence was off. He was circling back when he had the puck and opportunities where, you'd be used to him shooting, or he'd be trying to force a pass to the front of the net when he has a very good opportunity on the power play, for example, to take a one-timer or take a shot at the net. So I think just getting him that puck and encouraging him to, use his shot, unless it is like a wrist injury, I think it's just a lot of a confidence thing.
Yeah, and you can notice a lot of the time after he misses shots when he takes them, he is visibly frustrated out there with what's going on, so I could definitely see it being something on the mental side where the confidence is down right now. A friend and I were talking recently about how the Canucks don't have a sports psychologist permanently on staff, to our knowledge. Something like that I could see being valuable for the team going forward to bring in, because you can see what happened, for example, to Nathan McKinnon when the Avs brought somebody in and just how his game has changed. So I think
AFC Richmond when they brought one in for Ted Lasso.
But yeah, of course, sports psychologists can completely change the game for a team. So I think that's something the Canucks should be considering looking into. There have been some moments where we've seen players in recent years struggle with stuff that I think could be confidence-based. Obviously, he's gone now, but an example could be Andrei Kuzmenko didn't look particularly confident this year a lot of the time and ultimately is no longer a Vancouver Canucks. So I think that's something that could be addressed in the offseason.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I think it shows a lot of players now are able to show that they have, their mental health has become more important and a bigger focus for the league. And I think, the Canucks have shown that they want to be one of those franchises that's ahead of the curve, investing in the future, etc. And I think being able to get a sports psychologist in working full time would be really, really helpful.
Yeah. Should we talk about the Canucks' opponent's future now?
I suppose
How do you mean, playoff?
No, their opponent from last night.
Oh, yes, the Salt Lake City Storm and Mormons.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere.
I guess. Did it, though? I mean, I feel like...
How fast it happened.
Yeah.
We've heard whispers of a move for a while. We've heard Salt Lake City as a possible ownership, but it went so quickly from, oh, this is being talked about, to, okay, they're gone, bye.
Well, I firmly believe that Arizona's social media managers should be fired, because I'm sure that this has been in the works for longer than the media has known about it.
Mm-hmm.
But Arizona posting about their intention to win that arena bid in Arizona, where it was they basically made it sound like, oh, we've got an arena, we're gonna move into we're gonna stay in Arizona, we're gonna get a new place, we're not gonna stay in Mullet Arena. That was really misleading for the entirety of the NHL to see that. And ultimately I think it screwed them over more than it helped with morale of players and fans, because now it's looking like they're gone, and it's even more of a betrayal than it was in the first place.
Yeah, and at the moment I feel really bad for the Arizona Coyotes fan, but at the end of the day, I think with how their social media team was behaving, you can kind of see some people going, aha, now you're gone, because people are kind of cheering for the demise after some of what happened. So I feel like we're in a situation with the social media content where it just wasn't creating a favorable image for the organization, and now it really is a bad look now that they are seemingly gone to Utah.
Yeah, I think that, and I've also heard, rumblings about Arizona rejoining the league as an expansion team down the road.
Yeah.
I don't think that under this ownership group they should be allowed anywhere near another NHL franchise.
Yeah, so the report was current owner Alex Meruelo will have a chance to bring Arizona back as an expansion franchise within the next 5 years, too, which is, I think, that may be the worst possible way to go about doing this. You have an owner right now who has not shown much of an ability to get the organization back on track where they need to be. And 5 years is not nearly enough time for them to fix things. It might not even be enough time to get an arena built, even if he was to win the land build, because it seems like the mayor of, I believe it was Scottsdale where they're trying to build it, does not want an arena being built there. I just really think...
Scottsdale...
Sorry, go ahead.
Scottsdale's only one location, but I think... Yeah, sorry, you continue. I interrupted.
Yeah, I just feel like I get the league is committed to Arizona. Arizona has become a pretty big minor hockey market, which the Coyotes are certainly partly to thank for. But I think they're overdoing it. Has to be now. I think you can come back to Arizona in 10, 15 years maybe, and I am not necessarily opposed to that. I think there is a way to make Arizona work if you have a well-run organization. But by letting Alex Meruelo own the team and by making it so soon down the line, I think we have a serious problem. And if you expand this quickly, you probably need to add another expansion team to even out the numbers. So now we have to come in and get a 34-team league, which seems kind of rushed.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think I think Alex Meruelo is the worst owner in the NHL since the Harold Ballard era. Because I know Canucks fans will they'll say what they say about, Aquilini. And, sorry, yeah, you want to interject?
I'm just going to mention Terry Pegula, but keep going.
Yeah, I mean, the Pegulas are, say what you will about the Pegulas, but they haven't had to deal with, the same issues as Arizona. Think about it. Meruelo got them kicked out of Gila River because he wasn't paying them.
It's amazing to see a North American sports, a Big Four franchise getting evicted.
Yeah. Yeah, he got them kicked out of their arena. He put them into this mess. Mm-hmm. He has not been able to take them out of this mess despite several opportunities, and I'm sure lots of backing from the league, because obviously this is a team that Gary Bettman wants to work and the NHL has wanted to work. Mm-hmm. And I think Arizona is a good hockey market. I mean, yeah. Say what you will about their attendance, but I don't think that the actual city of Phoenix is to blame for that. I think you could put a hockey team in Arizona and have it be successful. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of having it run by the right people.
And it really hasn't been for any of this time. It was even reported yesterday. I'm not sure how accurate this is, so don't take this as gospel, but I heard that even into this season, the Coyotes were having problems with not paying their hotel bills on road trips. I can't speak if that's true, but if that is true, oh my God, this is a mess, and this is the guy you want bringing them back?
Yeah, I think I definitely am not against Arizona having a team, getting an expansion team, keeping the Coyotes, but I think Meruelo is not the guy to run it. I don't think he should be allowed near another NHL team.
Yeah.
And I think if Gary Bettman is smart enough to recognize that, it will save the league a lot of problems down the road.
I couldn't agree more with you. I also wonder, a little bit off topic, when we get to Utah, part of the agreement, I believe, was that if Meruelo were to bring the team back, he would be getting the Coyotes branding back, and they could be reborn as the Arizona Coyotes. I may have misread something there, to be completely honest with you, but that's my interpretation of this. Wonder what we're going to end up with a name change for Utah. I would assume they're going to be the Coyotes for the first year or two, because creating a new name and branding takes some time, but I wonder what we could get. Because, we're talking about them as the Utah Storm and Mormons, but really, I don't think the league can be naming a team that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of in the same topic as, the Rain City Bitch Pigeons, the name that the Seattle Kraken had before the Seattle Kraken. I think they'll figure out a name. I just hope they don't go with the Utah Utes, like the university team.
Yeah, something a little more creative.
I would like to see something a little bit more creative, and I know given Real Salt Lake, they don't really have much creativity in Utah when it comes to naming their sports teams.
Or the Jazz, where they just kept the name of the old franchise who relocated.
Yeah. So I'm just hoping we get something that's decent, and I'm sure we will. I think Ryan Smith seems to be really excited about potentially owning a team. I think the Utah ownership group will do a much better job than Arizona. And I don't really care about the Coyotes brand itself. I don't think if Arizona wants to get a team back, I don't think necessarily bringing them back as the Coyotes is the most important thing.
Agreed.
But yeah.
Yeah, moving on from that, I think we should begin previewing, with the playoffs on the horizon, who the Canucks could be facing in the coming weeks. Zach, do you want to run us through who the Canucks' possible opponents could be?
Well, I can give you a quick rundown of a few of them. The first place I'd like to start is the LA Kings. The City of Angels, Tinseltown, whatever you want to call it. It's the only place on Earth where a leather couch placed in an office building is cause for immediate concern and the need for a mental note of where the nearest dry cleaners is. You also want to make sure you don't get your mind lost in the unspeakable things that have happened on that couch. Speaking of unspeakable things, their hockey team as well, with their disastrous 1-3-1 neutral zone that would make any fan in the arena have their facial expression twisted into a mold of disgust. Well, at least the ones that don't need an entire surgery team to get a sly smirk. Now, don't think I've just focused on the Kings the whole time. I did also have something of notice for the Nashville Predators. You know, it seems an odd place to have a Western Conference playoff opponent, the country music capital of the world, east of the Mississippi, full of people slimming down into Wrangler jeans, covered in failed American dreams. But you know what? Even if we play them and they lose in the first round, the fans will at least get to see a glorious banner show up, which will say, under their beautiful industrial lighting set, "We made the playoffs." You see, every other team in the NHL would save a banner like that for, monumental achievements like a President's Trophy for being the best team during the regular season, or winning the Stanley Cup, or for the, slightly admittedly more poverty franchises amongst us, ourselves included, we should be honest. It would be just appearing in a Stanley Cup playoff, or Stanley Cup final, excuse me. But no, the Nashville Predators fans decide that they need a banner to celebrate not being crap. They need a banner for being ever so slightly above average. And finally, I will have to apologize here. I was going to have a little bit of blurb about the Vegas Golden Knights, but unfortunately, when we got to this point, the writing team all had to go on LTIR, so we're going to have to wait a few months for that. I'm very sorry. But do you two want to add anything?
I really don't know what to add. I think we've peaked as a podcast right there.
Yeah, I think that might be the single greatest thing to happen on this podcast, and I
frankly don't know how we're going to top that in future episodes. I think we just got to retire here.
It was nice knowing you,
yeah. I mean, who do we want to play from a hockey standpoint?
Just running through the options, I think. Vegas seem like they're a little bit unclear as to what's going to happen, because I guess with all the people who haven't been playing hockey coming off LTIR, there could be some issues there, but also how scary they can be if they get into gear. Kings hockey, I can name about 25 things I would rather watch than Kings hockey. None of them are pleasant. So I'm going to go with the Predators, because I feel like they have one of the less scary rosters out of them. They don't play a neutral zone trap, which has completely shut us down multiple times, and I feel like you can get some good entertainment value out of that series and a Canucks win.
Yeah, I think the safe opponent is the Predators in the first round. It's weird that I feel more confident in the Oilers than the Kings, and I also feel like the Oilers would dismantle the Kings in a 7-game series.
I could see that for sure.
I think if the Canucks can figure out a way to get past that Kings 1-3-1 trap, then it's like, they don't really have a backup plan to that, I don't think.
Yeah. I think with the Kings, if you can jump on them early and you can go in front, the first goal in a game against the LA Kings is crucial. If you concede first and they can go into that 1-3-1 and just shut you down for the whole game, you're almost hopeless there. If you score first, they don't have a way to kick it into gear, like you just said. They don't have a way to turn on the offensive hockey, and they're going to be struggling to play catch-up with you all game. So I think the Kings could potentially be good if we can get those early jumps. The problem is, can we?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just really hoping we can play the Predators at this point. And with the way that we're playing right now, it's not unreasonable for me to believe that if nothing changes, a first-round exit from any of these teams is definitely on the horizon.
Yeah, you never know with playoff hockey, too, what's going to happen until you're there. So,
yeah.
I don't know, I haven't watched us play real playoff hockey in like a decade now, so I'm kind of forgetting what it's like to watch your team in the playoffs with fans in the building, to be completely honest with you, but I'm looking forward to it no matter what.
The last time we were there, we were the 2 seed, and we got folded in the first round. So,
probably good that I forgot about it.
Is what I'm trying to get to. Win the division. That is
go beat
the most
Edmonton
important.
Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And with that, I think we should wrap up the hockey topics, because we have a lot of not hockey to talk about.
We do.
So, first things first. Let's talk about the Masters, because they're on right now.
Yeah. For those of you who are not in my room, which is hopefully all of you right now, I am looking over to my right now where I have my TV on. Bryson DeChambeau is currently in the lead at 7 under with Max Homa and Scotty Scheffler one shot off of him. At the moment, he's not particularly high up the leaderboard, but I'm cheering for Rory McIlroy to win it. I like Rory a lot and would like to see him finally get a green jacket. The main thing I don't want to see is a LIV player win, because I would want to pour bleach into my eyes having to watch a LIV player being given the jacket. Any thoughts from you guys on this?
How's Arnold Palmer doing?
Dead.
Oh. Sorry.
I haven't got many thoughts. I mean, I don't watch too much golf. I watch it when it's like, Masters Sunday, and it's just kind of like, all right, who's winning? And it's like, I want the guy in third to make a comeback. But no, I mean, I'm a big fan of, like, Rory McIlroy for some reason. He seems to be the golfer I have the most fun watching. So
yeah,
I'm rooting for him. I have no idea where he is right now or how he's doing.
Last I saw, he was a few shots off the lead, but I'm not sure where he is at the moment.
I also know that Bryson DeChambeau had a monster day yesterday. So
yeah, I believe he was 2 shots off the course record.
I think he's also I think he's my actual prediction, with 3 days left to win the tournament.
Yeah, he's a little prone to implosions at times, but if he can keep it clean, I think he's got a very good shot at this.
And yeah, I don't really know which players went to LIV, because it felt like a lot of them. So I don't know how
It's a concerningly high amount.
I don't know how to differentiate between them and the PGA, so I won't say anything about that.
Yeah, fair enough. Zach, anything from you?
No, I feel like my question earlier should have given away that I know precisely nothing about golf.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right.
And we see it when you play, too.
So now that the golf is over, let's talk about the next least entertaining sport, basketball. But in its most entertaining form, college basketball.
Let's.
So, Caitlin Clark did not win again. It's unfortunate, but I think that her going to the WNBA will finally give a league that's been more or less ridiculed by male sports fans for almost the entirety of its existence. We'll finally start to get some good publicity and some good PR, and hopefully some good attention. Maybe more fans at games, more people watching on TV. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still not the biggest basketball fan for anyone who doesn't know, but watching Caitlin Clark this March was absolutely incredible. Just electric player. I would probably call her my favorite basketball player on the planet right now. So I'm just really hoping that she has a great WNBA career and can back up what she did in college like she did, and I'm really sure she will. And
if for some reason she's too good for the WNBA, I think the Raptors could use a shooting guard. So yeah, that's all. I'm not much of a basketball fan right now, and that's mainly because the Toronto Raptors were agonizing to watch, and when the Canucks are good, for some reason, I just don't want to watch basketball, really. And then I started, playing other sports, rugby, and it's just kind of like, why did I ever play basketball? Like, it's fun when you're playing pickup with your friends, but, it's not, yeah.
I have a quick question about March Madness for our resident Canadian giant named Zach.
Go on.
Famously, there was another Canadian giant also named Zach at this tournament, Zach Edey. Is Zach Edey good, or is Zach Edey just giant?
I think it's going to be slightly more towards the giant part. Because, I'm sure his ceiling's like a capable NBA player, but I don't think he's going to be setting the league alight and winning all NBA votes or anything.
Yeah. So what would you say his NBA ceiling is?
I could see, this may take a tiny bit of luck, but I could see like a capable starter perhaps. Or like 5 to 7 man, basically, like 5th, 7th guy in the rotation. As absolute ceiling.
Yeah. I think he will get drafted by a team that will start him, at least in his rookie year. And I think that he will probably be a starter for a few years. Most first round NBA draft picks end up starting in their first year. I find at least in the top half of the draft. And I think he'll go to a team that needs a big man, and he'll just become their marquee big man for at least a couple years, barring a situation where his NBA career almost immediately implodes.
Yeah, because a big man he certainly is.
Yes, he's about almost a foot taller than myself, and I tend to dwarf most people.
Yeah, I'm the short one on this podcast, and I'm 6'2". That just shows you the height we're dealing with.
Remember to drink your milk,
kids. Tallest podcast in the world.
No other podcast has this.
Unless you're talking about Up in Smoke or another NBA player podcast, I think we have one of the tallest in the world.
Yeah.
That's something we have over every other podcast. Eat Your Heart Out, Canadian Soccer Source podcast. Hi, Mayan.
Eat Your Heart Out, Largecast.
Had to mention Mayan once in the show. Tradition now.
Yeah. Weekly Mayan mention.
Love you, Mayan.
Should we move on to the Champions League?
I think we should. Speaking of Liverpool, Alex is giving me a dirty look right now. And that's 2 fingers. I won't specify which ones. Arsenal with a 2-2 draw to Bayern Munich that has just been absolutely sheltered in controversy since. I thought it was a really good game. I thought the referee had missed a lot of important calls. I think both teams were deserving penalties at different points. But ultimately, despite the calls, it ended up in a draw. And Arsenal now head back to Munich, needing to win away at the Allianz Arena, which is not an easy feat at all.
Zach, do you want to talk about the City game?
Yeah, that was quite an end-to-end game. I mean, for those who don't know, it was Manchester City, Real Madrid ended in a 3-3 draw. And I'm intrigued to see how the second leg plays out, to be honest, because normally I'd be relieved that we got out of there with a draw, because it was in the Bernabeu. They closed the roof, so the atmosphere was more rowdy. But I don't know. It feels like some of their key players were kind of shut out in a way. So I don't know if I should be relying on that happening again in a second leg. So it'll be very intriguing to see how it plays out. I don't know if my heart can handle another 3-3 draw.
And speaking of key players being shut out, I ended up watching the Arsenal game at this time instead, but I heard Rudiger did a really good job of keeping Haaland quiet in that game.
I think both the center backs did it. I wonder, we probably got a bit lucky with Gvardiol got his first goal as a City player, Foden hit a screamer, and then well placed free kick from Bernardo Silva as well. So it'll be
that bastard.
Yeah, I am going to be watching through my fingers, I believe, the second leg.
Should be set up for a really good game, though. I did not get to watch my team in the Champions League because last year we were ravaged by injuries and kind of sucked. But I will talk about this year. I will be talking about the Barcelona PSG game, which is one of the best Champions League games I've watched in a long time. We had a really great week of Champions League action, I think. Halftime, Barcelona had a 1-0 lead, had blown it within about 5 minutes and were down 2-1, proceeded to win 3-2 in the first leg. This is going to set up a really good second leg, I think, not the new camp, whatever the current one they're temporarily playing in is.
Olympic Stadium.
There we go. I think we're set up for a really good second leg here. I've had a soft spot for Barcelona for years from my days as an MSN fan, so I think they're probably who I'm rocking with to win the tournament at this point. Anyone but City. Sorry, Zach.
Reasonable.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to the second leg there. I'm looking forward to all of the games coming back around. I think we should have some really good ones here. A lot of very close ties.
Yeah, I think we were obviously blessed with 2 great days of football.
Yeah.
Between 2 fantastic draws being played at the same time.
Yeah.
Which honestly is a crime. I think at this stage of the tournament, you should stagger the start time so that I can watch one and then the other.
Yeah.
And then the next day being a cracking fixture between Barcelona and PSG. I do worry about the way that they formatted the bracket for this round of 8 because it sets up for a fantastic semifinal tie.
Yeah.
And then glaring opportunity for a giant mismatch in the final.
You know what I'm kind of hoping for in the final at this stage?
Yep.
Imagine El Clasico in the Champions League final.
El Clasico, that could very well happen, too.
There's a very good shot. I have a feeling that this is not exactly a controversial opinion, but whoever wins between Real and Man City is probably the favorite on that side of the bracket. The other side, Barca and PSG, again, probably whoever wins is the favorite to go to the final on that side. What a game that would be. I think both teams will really show up for that more than anything else. That's probably what I'm hoping for at this stage as a neutral fan.
Yeah, I think that if Arsenal can beat Bayern Munich in the Allianz, then without bias, genuinely think that they could make the final.
Yeah.
I mean, any team in the Final Four could make the final.
Yeah.
But I believe at this point, Barcelona heading into the second leg with a goal advantage going home, and then having to play either Borussia Dortmund or Atletico Madrid, they're almost a shoo-in for the final, barring what I would consider an implosion.
Yeah, I wouldn't go quite that far because, especially with Mbappe on PSG, Mbappe showed us in the World Cup final especially that he can go dormant for 85 minutes, but those 5 minutes where he's active can completely destroy a game for you. So I think, especially with it being a one-goal game, I think we could be set up for something good here, and especially with no away goals rule around anymore.
Yeah, but nonetheless, I think whoever wins that PSG-Barcelona is a shoo-in for the final. Has to be the favorite.
Yeah. You never know, and upsets do happen, but...
Regardless of the outcomes of the two England games, the two England teams, then that semifinal will be, again, a classic, regardless of the winners.
Of course.
Although I will say to your El Clasico final, I raise you an Arsenal versus Manchester City Champions League semifinal.
Please no. I don't.
After the games this season, that 0-0 draw at the Etihad and a 1-0 win at the Emirates.
Yeah, forgive my language here, but I think I'd rather watch Fly than another one of those games.
Zach is having the greatest Chroncast performance anyone's ever had today.
Yeah, Zach has been putting up Wilt numbers today.
This is the flu game.
This is the flu game. All right, well, I don't think that there's anything else to be said about Champions League after that.
I don't think we can top that.
Let's talk about the Premier League title race.
Yeah, let's.
I end up now in a position where I have to support Tottenham Hotspur, and I don't like it. Because they play both Liverpool and City. They play both Liverpool and City in the near future. They also play Arsenal. An Arsenal win in a North London derby away would be a huge step forward. That is probably the hardest fixture that we have left. Either that or United at Old Trafford. So I think having to cheer for Spurs is it feels just so wrong to even say that. I don't know how the hell I'm going to actually do it come match day.
It's a fate worse than death for anyone at the best of times.
Yeah, sorry, Tobin. It's just not fun. It isn't, and I don't know. Arsenal might be top of the league right now, but they are a point out of third, and I have no faith in them. That's not to say that they can't win it. I'm just saying I'm used to this happening. And if it happens again, I won't be surprised. I will even go as far as saying I predicted it, because I still do not believe as an Arsenal fan that they are going to win the championship, because I'm just used to pain.
Yeah, like top spot on goal difference with third only a spot behind shows just how tight of a race this is right now. I think, I can't speak to you, Zach, but I think we're all a little bit stressed about what's going on right now and how tight this has gotten. But I feel like, as a Liverpool fan right now, even though we ended up with that draw to United recently, I do feel pretty confident in the guys that they can win this. I think they're especially motivated to get the league more than anything this year for Klopp. I know that Europa League performance against Atalanta was pretty disappointing, but I really do feel like we have a legitimate shot at winning the Champions League, Premier League this year. And I am stressed, but I'm looking forward to what's going to happen next. Zach?
Yeah, I guess just going off the last 3 seasons, I'm still quietly confident. Well, it's not going to be very quiet anymore because I'm saying it. But because just Manchester City's always had brilliant second halves of the season. Like, I think the stat was, I think the most points dropped by them in a second half of a season was 8 during the last 5 seasons.
Sweet Jesus.
So there's always, because Guardiola, I think, like rotates very well. So there's a pretty deep squad, and there can always be 2 or 3 players resting at a time. So just always, like, the been there, done that, and the rotation gives me a lot more faith than perhaps I should have, but it's faith that's been earned. Definitely.
Now, I do have one question for you, Zach, about the City squad.
All right.
By the end of the season, will Rodri still have 2 legs?
I think he'll grow a 3rd. Not there. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Ryan, what were you saying?
I forgot what I was gonna say. It's completely evaded me now. Yeah. Do we have anything else that we want to say about the Premier League title? I mean, I think I'm in a position where I want Arsenal to win the league, and I would do a lot of things for Arsenal to win the league. But my faith is just that of this ending up being City pool by the last 2 match days.
Yeah. Can we just have a quick moment to laugh at Chelsea?
Chelsea. I can't laugh too hard because, like, anybody I know who does support Chelsea will just remind me of, like, things that happened before I started watching soccer, like the Europa League final. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny just watching them go from, Champions League to this.
The £1 billion bottle jobs.
The £1 billion bottle jobs. I think they're the worst team in London. I think Brentford FC are mightier than Chelsea at this point.
I mean, like, maybe QPR?
Luton Town.
I do think
Luton's
Leyton Orient's
debatably in London.
I think Leyton Orient could beat Chelsea
on their day for sure.
At the bridge for sure.
Yeah, they have a good day. I think they could.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about this, or should we move on to Zach's segment?
Zach's segment, I think. Actually, no. I have one more thing I want to say.
All right.
A Vancouver team beat a Toronto team last week in MLS action 4-0. And I think we should just acknowledge that and just say how beautiful it is to watch a Toronto team get thrashed by another Vancouver team. And it's so great. It's something. Every Vancouver versus Toronto game is my personal Super Bowl as a Toronto refugee who fled to British Columbia. I'm not looking for. I have to go back in like a couple weeks. I'm not looking forward to that.
We're all praying for you.
Yeah, please keep praying for me. Maybe I won't have to go. Maybe I'll get an awesome job here. But it was such a great game. And then this week we are also slated to probably have another fantastic game playing against the LA Galaxy. And another team that's top of the Western Conference, like close to us right now. It'll be such a good game with the form that those two teams are in.
Yeah, I actually went on the other day a Galaxy podcast to preview that game. Please check out Inside Our Galaxies podcast to hear that. But I'm really looking forward to that one. The Toronto game was absolutely fantastic to be at. Zach and I were in the supporter section along with some other friends. This was just what a day.
What a day.
What a day.
And that being said,
I have one more point I'd like to add to this. I hope people can use this game as a little motivational thing. Because if you ever have a day at work or school or somewhere where you feel like you would have been better off not showing up, don't worry, because you're in the same boat as Toronto FC. In fact, they're in a different boat because they were worse off showing up. If they just forfeited, that's a 3-0 loss, but they lost 4-0.
Yeah, I love the fact that TFC fans flew across the country to watch that game.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. It makes me so happy. It was like when I went to the York United FC game and genuinely saw more children in Whitecap jerseys than York United jerseys. It was such a great feeling whenever Toronto loses. I think the rest of Canada wins when Toronto loses.
They really do. So to
With
Canada,
that being said,
you're welcome.
With that being said, I am now going to pass it on to everybody's favorite segment, except for mine, because I don't know about anything that you guys are talking about. Without further ado, it's the Zach Mason Combat Corner.
Woo! All right, Zach, you ready to go?
I am ready, yes.
All right, we talked about this a little bit last episode, but UFC 300 is tomorrow at the time of recording. Give us your thoughts. What we got to look forward to.
Yes, last week I did my best to preview the main event and the main card. This week I'd just like to talk about one quick fight. It was the Kayla Harrison versus Holly Holm fight, because Kayla Harrison has my immense respect for somehow being able to boil down to 135 pounds. For those who don't know, Kayla Harrison is a 2-time Olympic gold medalist judoka, and she won those gold medals at, I believe the weight class is 173 pounds. And for her entire MMA career, barring one fight, she has fought at 155 pounds. She made weight at 135 pounds for her fight on Saturday. That is not a pleasant experience, I can guarantee you that, considering she looked very gaunt and like eyes sunken in. She looked like she would pass out if she thought about food, let alone had any. So she has my immense respect. Even if the fight goes badly because she has cut so much weight, she has no punch resistance. She has my respect for just making it down there. Because
so weight cuts some of these fighters do are just ridiculous. I can't even imagine what some of them do.
I'd be willing to bet money she started this camp at like 180 pounds.
Wow. And so a little bit off topic, but still within 300. What do you think about the custom shorts they're going to have some fighters allowed to wear this time? Particularly, Max Holloway with the floral shorts.
I like the idea, but it is hilarious how for the last 10 years the UFC's been trying to get more towards like a uniform with like the Reebok deal first, then the Venom deal. And now they're allowing some personality with it. It's where like Sean O'Malley gets pink shorts, Bryce Mitchell gets camo shorts, Holloway gets Hawaiian floral shorts, all that. It just seems like we've gone a whole long way around in a circle just to get exactly where we started. The problem is that now the fighters don't make a dime off of their shorts. It's just something that is a bit iconic. Because like before, you like in the early 2000s to early 2010s, you get like the Chuck Liddell Iceman shorts, Anderson Silva's Bruce Lee inspired ones, where they were iconic and also they could put sponsorships on it. So that's another way to make money. Whereas now they'll get $35 and a crisp high five for wearing Venom gear. So it's just seemed like it was basically for control, and it's the more time goes by, the clearer that becomes.
And moving off of UFC into boxing, with the ongoing semi-collapse PBC is going through, one of their young fighters has switched over to a different promotion. Walk us through that, please.
So Jaron boots Ennis, who is a 147-pound title holder and probably one of the most highly touted prospects of the last few years. He left PBC to join with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom. And I'm very intrigued to see how this plays out, because he is 30-0 with 28 knockouts, I believe. And I'm very high on him because he's passed the problem is that all he has right now is the eye test. He does not have a very great resume, which he wasn't getting. His biggest issue was he wasn't getting any fights. And in a sport where the best ability is availability and being active, that could literally have killed his career. Where if he's fighting once a year at best, every time he goes back under those lights, it's nerve-wracking. He also gets very limited amount of time to polish up skills. The weight might suddenly be hard to make again. He can balloon up. And also just know what... In a sport that's what have you done for me lately, doing nothing for an entire year is awful. Now he's going to Matchroom, which doesn't have the greatest stable of fighters at that weight, but Eddie Hearn is more willing to play with others than Al Heyman is, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
So there's a few fights he could definitely make, especially now that he has a title, and I'm sure Eddie Hearn's definitely going to be trying to get his best bang for his buck he can get with his new fighter. So it'll be intriguing to see where he goes, especially since he's 26 now. So these are probably the best years he's going to have. So if he can get a few big fights now, become a star, then he can basically write the book on how he wants to fight. And this could be a very wise decision. It could be the start of a very great fighter turning into a brilliant one. So I quite like it.
Good to know. And anything else in the world of combat sports we should know about, or should we wrap this up here?
I don't think there's anything else I want to bring up. I can save for a later date when it's more pertinent, because this one's been going to be a bit of a quiet combat corner, because holy hell is May ramping up to be something.
Looking forward to that. All right, this has been the combat corner for this week.
All right, and with the combat corner wrapping up, I don't think we have anything else to say.
Nope.
Do we? No?
I think we're good to go.
All right. Zach, any closing remarks after what has been, at worst, an absolute classic of an episode from you?
Stay in school, don't do drugs, and listen to the next episode of the Chroncast, everyone. Goodbye.